On March 30th, 2007, in the U.S. state of Virginia, there was a woman named Lynn Balfour getting ready to go home after work. Here, she gets a call from the babysitter where she was leaving her son. She asks her, "Mrs. Lynn, why didn't you bring the boy today?" Lynn gasped and said, "You have my son. I brought him to you in the morning." She told her that this did not happen. Here, my friend, Lynn ran to the car and she finds her son, Bryce, inside. The son, who was only 9 months old, was forgotten in the car seat. Lynn forgot to drop her son to the babysitter and went to work. She left her son in the car all day, until he died of suffocation. Let me tell you, my friend, that despite this story being so dark, it is no exception. This incident occurs in America on an average of 38 times per year. That means 3 times a month. This is from the 90s until today. My friend, let me tell you that the families with whom this incident occurs are very diverse. They come from rich and poor backgrounds and work in different jobs, and not only mothers, there are also fathers among them. Let me also tell you that these parents are not always neglectful. These are people who are very concerned about the safety of their children. The issue has nothing to do with intentional negligence or any conscious motive. The truth is that part of these people's brain was absent. The human brain, my friend, is a very complex organ. Until today, it is a mystery that scientists are trying to understand. It is true that we know many things about it, but really what we don't know is more. If we look, for example, at the space we are talking about now, we will find that we have 3 main parts that play different roles in the process of perception and interaction with the world. Usually, tasks are divided between them smoothly, like the best management hierarchy in a multinational company. You have what is called ganglia, which is the small employee with limited capabilities. The brain tells it, "Look, boy, you'll do the foolish tasks, things that don't need cleverness. Just stay on top of your routine, take a walk, eat some food, drive a car and go to the bathroom, stuff like that. Don't think on it, you have nothing to do with anything." Because this is the job of the next employee, the hippocampus. It's a more respectable employee. This, my friend, is the head of the archives department. It stores and displays the information we need during our day. If you continue to the 24th floor, to meet the chairman of the board of directors of this body, you will meet the CEO, the prefrontal cortex. This is the one that thinks, analyzes, reaches conclusions, and discovers the mysterious and the exciting. All these, my friend, work together, creating a harmonious production wheel. Forgetting, my friend, is the glitch in this complex system. After we learn this information, let's take a look at Lynn's day again, the woman who forgot her son in a car. Lynn was up all night with her son, Bryce, because he had a cold. In addition, she had work pressure. During the morning drive, she was on a call with a relative who had a problem. Then, her manager called her about another problem at work. All this while she was driving, tired, exhausted, didn't sleep well, and her son was sick. Here, according to molecular physiologist David Diamond, this specialist says that the idea is that when we are under pressure and tension, the most developed parts of our brain, which are the prefrontal cortex and the hippocampus, they shut down. The director and the archive employee relax for a while. Here, who will get their chance and go off and wreak havoc on the company? The ganglia, this foolish employee, whose role, although it is very important, however, he does things that are not his own. He starts using his intelligence. The problem, my friend, is that ganglia cannot think, remember, or analyze. It's going in with full force with nothing but habit and routine. This is what happened with Lynn. The ganglia had her on autopilot. She arrived at work and her mind was completely consumed. Here, her brain is programmed to close the car and leave. As long as I get to work, I don't need to get anyone home, that's it. I go and focus on my work and on the problem with my manager. The idea, my friend, is that today her routine has changed. The baby chair, which she used to sit her son in, was being repaired. So Bryce, her son, was placed in a different seat behind the driver. Not on the other side that she can see every day. Contrary to custom, because the boy was sick, he was exhausted, tired, and fell asleep without any noise. This way, he never audibly got this mother Lynn's attention. Besides, her husband's car was a wreck. Lynn drove her husband to work on the same day. And because, my friend, her husband was riding with her in her car, the baby's bag, which was usually placed next to her, when she saw it, she would remember it was hidden behind her. Her brain is under the routine employee that is the ganglia, which came as a result of this state of pressure and the many thoughts that occur at this time. It registered in Lynn's brain that this is the usual pause that occurs before work. Pull the key, raise the hand, put the car on P, lock after you, press the remote and go. You're not forgetting anything at all. This increases the chances of errors occurring. David Diamond says that if you are a human being who can forget his phone that you use, and is an essential part of you now, then you can forget a child. It's the same malfunction. When this malfunction occurs, your ability to consciously remember is disrupted, regardless of the importance of the thing you forgot. For many years, my friend, neuroscience looked at something like forgetting as an unfortunate glitch. This glitch can be a simple one, like forgetting the remote in the refrigerator. Go out of the house with the zipper open. Look for sunglasses while wearing it. Look for your mobile phone in the dark with the phone's flashlight. But, my friend, other times, this glitch can be very big and scary, like the story of Lynn and her son, Bryce. But, honey, in the book Forgetting, Scott A. Small says that forgetting is not just a malfunction or an unintended symptom that causes problems. But my friend, and listen to this, forgetting is an intentional system of the brain parallel to the process of remembering. The truth is that they are two systems opposite each other, but work for one goal. This goal is neither to remember nor to forget. According to Professor Blake Richards, the process of remembering and the process of forgetting are two memory activities. These activities serve one thing, which is your ability to make the right decisions. Without something as forgetting, essential and important information will be lost in a sea of useless information. The feeling, for example, of a sock while you were wearing it on your foot, or the color of the t-shirt of the man who was standing in front of you in the supermarket queue. This is all sensory information that we take in all the time. The brain has to decide, no, sorry, there are things I don't need, there are things I need to cancel. Most of them, my friend, end up being forgotten. And maybe, my friend, the glitch that happens in a case like this is when you remember everything, remembering who you met and who you saw in detail. This information is not necessary. That's a glitch, that's a problem. Because when you find yourself in a difficult situation, by the time you filter the information, which is important and which is not, you will be dead. In science, we know very well that forgetting is not a shame. Forgetting is something that helps us to survive. The idea, my friend, is that storage is available. Your memory can absorb a lot of information and store a great amount of information. But what makes a difference is the processing. It is easy for you to store, but difficult for you to recover. It is difficult for you to recover what is important. That's why, my friend, neuroscientist Ronald Davis says that perhaps something like forgetting is the brain's primary function. Our brain's job is not to think. On the contrary, this is the easiest thing for it to think. The idea is that it forgets what is not important. There is a lot of it. Let me tell you, if this forgetting system is not working, what could happen? If you keep living and your entire life consists of screenshots of everything that happens around you. Let me introduce you to Jill Price's case. Jill is the only case in the world scientifically documented for extraordinary biographical memory. If I went to her today when she was in her 50s, and through any random date from the year 84, February 18th, 1997, what happened? What about February 2nd, 2005? she can tell you what she ate for lunch and what she was wearing. A lot of research has been done on this case. The result, my friend, was that there was virtually no advantage that this condition added to Jill's mental abilities. On the contrary, people can still be affected negatively to have memory. Ask people who have trauma, people who cannot forget the violence that happened to them. Jill herself wrote a book called The Woman Who Can't Forget, where she talks about the difficulty of life in her situation. Jill, for example, says that she was never good at studying. Her ability to focus on the present or plan for the future was impaired. As if her brain was always tied with chains to the past, and every day this chain is getting longer and longer. Her brain is busy with secondary information that is not filtered. This is something, my friend, that is mentally and emotionally draining. Jill's case, my friend, is a very rare case. Let me also tell you that the lack of forgetting or the absence of a memory filter is something that tires out larger groups of people. According to a study published in 2016, some autistic patients are disturbed by loud noises. Their behavior in dealing is not flexible. This is because they are unable to filter or unable to forget some of their extra inputs. And even humans who have a traditional nervous system, they remember and filter normally. If they experienced a painful loss or a major incident, it'd be a memory that is difficult to forget. Forgetting here is a blessing. Forgetting, my friend, is a virtue between two vices, excessive forgetting and excessive remembering. And this, my friend, is not only found in biology and neurology. You can also find it in AI. Let me tell you, on the occasion of practical life, that programmers designed the AI and decided to make it forgetful as well. Artificial intelligence in its various forms tries to imitate human abilities and perform them more efficiently, while avoiding human faults and weaknesses. If forgetting is a shame here, it was natural that the ideal electronic version of us created to get rid of forgetting. But what happened is that we discovered that we need to teach artificial intelligence to forget. Because sometimes, my friend, if the AI remembers everything, it might hallucinate. One example of this is an artificial intelligence system capable of achieving impressive performance in the Atari game. Here, the scientists who did this experiment, in an artificial intelligence laboratory called DeepMind, subsidiary to Google, they made a modification to this system to make it remember the movements that happened to him selectively, to focus on expectations that were not expected, and forgets the expectations it had that do not add anything to its experience. Simply put, it learned to forget because not all information is important. It also learned to forget by the same mechanism that you forget with, the one you don't like as a human. You, my friend, have an algorithm in your brain smarter than the best AI. But, my friend, what if there was another system? A system that controls memory and forgetting, but its purpose is not for your benefit? If you try to recover the information and say, "This is important," this system will make you forget it. This, my friend, is a system imposed on you but from outside your brain. In his book Forgotten Remembrance by the Irish researcher Byner, he says, my friend, that regimes throughout history realize that our societies need to filter events from time to time, to forget things and highlight others. They need to do something very important, which is to create a narrative about them and their history, highlighting strengths and hiding weaknesses. That's why guide documents force forgetting, policies used by various regimes in modern history, to get rid of an uncomfortable spot in its history. For example, Europe in the period after World War II is an amazing example of employing forgetfulness. Let's look at the sequence of events in this period. In World War II, Germany and Italy were fighting Britain and France. Semi-final Euro. The number of victims in Germany reached 8 million, as for France, Italy, and Britain, each country of them lost about 500,000, including civilians and military personnel. Then and at once, the war ended, and the four of them reconciled, loans, people going in, people coming out, and visas coming out. They filmed stories and wrote, "The Sweetest Sisters in the World." How? They killed each other, hundreds of thousands of people died. Some nations that cut ties with each other for centuries for less numbers than that. Let me tell you, this is not a triviality of countries cutting ties with each other, or the European countries letting things slide. It's something in the middle. Let me tell you that after the huge losses that these countries have experienced, they realized that the safest way was to let go of the past. Why waste the future in conflicts, when we can create a new identity and common interests to protect us from that past? And to also create a great power among them, to protect each other in the future. As the poet Hans Magnus Enzensberger says, in describing the recovery of European countries from World War II, Europeans took shelter behind a collective amnesia. This is something, my friend, very poetic. I find this saying, my friend, very eloquent. Sometimes, my friend, forgetting the painful past makes us able to look at our present, look at our future, contemplate, learn, and work together, forget the grudges and hatred that existed between us, forget the traumas. Forget the painful events that might affect us and don't let us look ahead. Let me tell you that a country like France took this task of forgetting very seriously. Because France's legacy of war was very complex, as Germany occupied France for 4 years during the war. At that time, the French government decided that to protect itself from oppression by creating a policy of cooperation with the Nazis, this included participating in the killing and oppression of people like the Jews. Here, France committed a crime under the pressure of a humiliating occupation from Germany. But the present tells you that Germany has become a virtuous sister. How do we cooperate with them now? There is nothing else, my friend, that is forgetfulness. It did not happen, and what happened will not be repeated. French historian Henri Rousseau called the implicit agreement that occurred between the government and society after the war named after the city of Vichy, the base of the French government at the time. This Vichy syndrome, as described by Rousseau, was an agreement, a deal, that we will all ignore this period of war as if we did not see it. An unspoken agreement that we will all ignore what happened. Forget all the rest of these traumas, and highlight the victories of the French army in the face of the German occupation. A victory over Nazism, my friend, take care, not the Germans, because we want to work with them in the future. The Germans are good, but the regime commanding them was brutal. We focus on the French army's victories against this oppressive regime. In particular, how France emerged victorious from the war. But remember when I said that when your brain forgets information, it does not delete it. It just loses the ability to retrieve it, the recalling. It is possible that at another time or in other circumstances, it'd encounter stimuli that require that information, and it can get it back again. What I want to say, my friend, is that the narrative, society's narrative about itself, needs to let something go and highlight other things. The problem, my friend, is that the things that are let go are not forgotten. Here, Rousseau expresses it very eloquently about the memories of the war period and the tragedies and massacres that occurred, as the past that does not pass. The manifestations of the past that does not pass appeared in the 70s, 30 years after the events. What is known as memory activism had spread. Forgetfulness turned into an obsession with remembering. Obsession with the Vichy government and the German occupation of France, and France's complicity in something like the Holocaust. The awakening of remembrance will not only extend to the World War, but also to France's colonial past, when requests appear from groups, such as Algerian immigrants for example, determine that the French government admits its crimes during the occupation. Here, the government responded with a law in 2005 forcing schools to teach the positive role of France in North Africa, celebrating its military heroism. As an attempt to say, we want to beautify the past, we want to forget it. But, my friend, the remembrance was a much stronger flood. France's actions were very honorable obviously. In the end, my friend, this law was repealed. Here, my friend, Biner says that if you want to erase an event from history, it is not enough if you prevent talking about it. No, you need to do an operation and remove it from the memory of every person who lived it. From every individual memory, otherwise, it will keep coming back to you again. Let me, my friend, explain to you, according to some people's point of view, how is memory removed. And I will surprise you with the way that is the opposite of what you expected. Instead of sweeping and hiding these memories under the rug, we will spread their dirt. There is a view that says if you want a group of people to forget something that happened in history, let them, my friend, talk about it and get enough of it. This is what happened in the Truth and Reconciliation Committees, which were made with different forms and names, after the tragic events in human history, such as, for example, the ethnic cleansing of the Tutsi community in Rwanda and the apartheid system in South Africa. This has a scientific basis, and is based on one of the forgetfulness techniques that your brain uses. That is, according to the theory of the Russian psychologist Bluma Zygarnik, the person sitting in a coffee shop in Vienna in the 1920s, the waiters take the order and keep remembering it until the table pays and leaves, and after that, they forget it. Zygarnik followed his notes and conducted more experiments, and came up with the theory that hold his name. Zygarnik says that the incompleteness creates a state of cognitive tension. When your brain registers that an important activity has begun and was not finished, this thing keeps on bouncing around in your mind. It can't sit still. It keeps returning to consciousness every now and then involuntarily. Therefore, it remains more firmly established in memory. In contrast, when the brain registers that something has been completed, it signals to the memory that it's over, done. Just mark the checkbox completed. It's just like when you were going for an exam, my friend. You throw everything in your mind into the paper and come out forgetting it. Based on this research, my friend, some experts advise that when studying, that you don't study everything in one sitting. No, you stop and start over and over again to create this mental tension that makes the brain retain information. In order to work well, you need to rest for short periods of time between reasonably long study periods. You can't look at the index page, then go to drink tea in 8 hours. We return, my friend, to the Truth and Reconciliation Committees. There is a doctoral student who caught something clever. He says that what happens in these Truth and Reconciliation Commissions is nothing but a process of applying Zygarnik's theory on a collective scale. When you get the victims and tell them, come, tell the story, and get out everything you feel, and the perpetrators will confess what they did, with a comprehensive report monitoring everything. Here, in one way or another, the brain receives a signal that, that's it, relax. It's all over. You do not need to keep this memory in your brain, because it is over, recorded somewhere else. According to this theory, we find that the process with an aim to document the truth does the opposite of what is expected of it. It, my friend, does not preserve the truth. On the contrary, it reduces the impact of the painful memory and offers victims something known as closure, a completion point that allows for transcendence and continuation. The summary, my friend, from this episode is that something like forgetting is supposed to be a bad thing, and we hate it because we see its effect on exams. We want to remember about things at times when we need to, but we cannot find them. We have this hatred for the process of forgetting. But what neuroscience and biology tell us is that forgetting is a valuable need, an important need, that we cannot live without. Some people, as we have seen, see that the brain's purpose is to forget, not to think. Most of what the brain does is filter information. It could have stayed there, but it decided to get rid of it. We notice, my friend, the importance of forgetting, not only in our daily life, we also notice it at the time of traumas. The time of existential crises that happen to us, the time of events that threaten our existence. When all the solutions fail, we say there is no hope other than forgetting. We discover, my friend, that the past can sometimes burden us, can make us without a present, and may leave us with no future. Remember, my friend, not because we thanked forgetting and said it was nice then, it's something imposed on us, that anyone or any entity can impose it on us, or can control our narrative. What do we remember and what do we forget? Forgetting is a weapon, remembering is a weapon. We may think that if we force ourselves to forget, we will be solving the issue. On the contrary, my friend, what scientific research finds is that when we speak, talk, confess, discuss, and think about what happened before, only then can we be free by forgetting. In the end, my friend, forgetting is a cure and a weapon in your hand, that's all, my friend.